So, good afternoon. For the past 2 weeks and looking at the forecast, it's going to be like this for the next couple weeks. But it has been straight up nothing but just mostly cloud, with maybe an hour or two of some sun towards the end of the day. But it's just been cloudy and cold. Now, when I say cold, it sounds like I'm griping a bit, but I'm actually not. I actually much prefer the cloud coverage and no sun than to have a lot of sun and no cloud, but frost. When the sky is clear, frost like is here. So I'm glad that we've got cloud up there preventing the frost from forming. But at the same time, it is a double-edged sword where these guys, in order to put sugar into the foods in order to absorb the sun's light through the process of photosynthesis. They need sunlight. They are getting some through the clouds, but it's not the same as if you've got sunlight directly hitting these guys. So off topic. I don't realize this. I don't know if you realize this, but fruits are they're actually pricey. I was just in an ethnic grocery store just the other day, and yeah, these guys were like, well, I'm saving a lot of money. Let's just say, yeah, they were pricey, and if you come here, unfortunately, I guess you could say that's wasted, but it's not my fault. It's not intentional. Uh, all of those would drop because of the recent shower that we had. But yeah, so today I wanted to talk about in the event that you can't protect your trees, or if you are growing in an area where you need the maximum amount of cold protection, the best option really would be to just grow indoors. I mean, that is going to be as close to a controlled climate that you can ever get. There are certain restrictions or certain downsides to growing things indoor, of course, in that for the purpose of growing trees, like a mature tree, you're probably not going to be able to do that. The trees are not going to be really happy. They require practically just natural sunlight. I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's worth going to the effort of growing a mature tree indoor. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you can, but just it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I wanted to just again with the sky the way it is. I mean, if you actually come here, I don't know, you could tell, but the sun's over there, and I mean, if you look at it, it's just straight up just cloudy. It's just very sad looking. Yeah, I guess the winter blues are here. But yeah, and so that being the case, I just decided to just basically grow everything indoors when possible. And this video, I wanted to talk about some of the techniques that's involved. All right, so here it is, indoors in the garage. So this is my poor man's version of a controlled microclimate. This is the setup that I've got. I mean, before this, in previous years, I was actually literally rolling my trees and seedlings outside when there was some sunshine. But I've since gotten lazier, and in the interest of the overall health of the tree, I'm just resorting to growing these inside the my garage, with this artificial sunlight setup. So the whole idea is trying to mimic the sun indoor using these artificial lights. So the trick to growing indoors is really to use a full spectrum lighting system, okay? So the whole idea behind the use of a full spectrum light bulb as opposed to your traditional household lighting is the fact that it gives all of the, well, basically the gist of it is it tries to mimic the sun as opposed to, so let me actually just show it to you rather than trying to explain it. So right there, in a pinch, maybe for a day or two, you technically can grow using your standard household light. You're probably not going to be happy with the result, okay? Because there's certain wavelengths that is being outputted from the traditional light bulb that the trees need that it's not receiving. Hence the dedicated light bulbs that I've got here. So number one, use a full spectrum light bulb system. And in my setup, I actually have two. If you come closer, I want to show you this. The ones that you see here, they look like they're traditional light bulbs, okay? But there are certain wavelengths, blue and red wavelengths that you're not seeing. It's there. The tree is getting uh, the the amount of sun, the amount of light that it needs in order to create energy. Now, the seedling ones down there, if you could see, are using these different varieties of light that I've got. They're more or less a combination of blue and mostly red light, which is what most plants absorb for the seedlings. And then over here, I'm just also using your standard full spectrum traditional light. This also works as well. So in fact, I mean, the reason why you're seeing leaves green is because for the most part, the trees don't need a whole lot of green spectrum. That's why a lot of it is being reflected back to you. And that's why you're seeing it as green. It's absorbing some, but for the most part, they absorb mostly red light and blue light, which again is invisible to you and I when I look into it. But I assure you, it is there. So everything you see here has been cooped up here for like almost going 2 weeks, 2 months now, and they're fine. I mean, I much would rather have them in here, cozy, 64 degrees, practically pretty consistently 64 degrees, instead of being outdoors where you're talking below freezing in some instances. And this to me is also basically a hands-off approach where I've got these on a timer running, I want to say 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's just barely enough to produce the energy for the trees and the seedlings, just really just to keep them alive, just for the 3 or 4 months of winter when it's just too cold outside. Now, having said that, if you come here, I wanted to kind of go into details on some of the setup. See this right here? This is essentially just cardboard that I've got with copious amount of foil and foil tape, of course, essentially making it so where any light that gets reflected back to the tree, just maximizing the efficiency. And this cost me nothing, so besides the time. So now, a couple of tips on the use of the lights. Try to get it as close to the tree as possible. The closer you get, the more intense the sun the light will be to the tree, and therefore the less energy is wasted. So that's why you see them relatively close, especially the actually if you let me show you, especially the seedlings that I've got down here. I mean, it's you're looking, practically like right on top of it, no more than maybe I say a foot or so. And everything, again, I mean, they're not thriving. I don't want, I mean, my goal isn't for these guys to thrive, but rather I want them to just have enough energy to make it to the winter using my artificial sunlight system here. So the whole setup looks pretty intense, right? Looks pretty pricey. But surprisingly, it's actually not. I want to say the red slash blue lights, they were basically about 25 bucks a piece. And in my case, I've had them for several years, so I just keep reusing them. And then these light bulbs, or I want to say 20. Actually, they're $10 a piece. Yeah, I want to say they're $10 a piece. Except this one right here. This is kind of a special high density light bulb. It's like 40 bucks, I think. The whole setup is, in my opinion, relatively cheap for what you're using it for. And because I've got such a pretty large surface area, I needed a lot of these lights in order to provide the coverage that I need. So now, in terms of electricity usage, I did the calculation. Even though these light bulbs, these light system that you see here, even though they're rated at 75 watts, they're not. They're realistically rated at about 21 watts per panel. So combined, my entire lighting system uses about 132 watts. Yeah, I mean that, in my opinion, is incredibly efficient. And again, I'm because of the light, they're essentially keeping all my seedlings and even the mamey sapote tree here alive. I mean, like, check it out. This is why this year I decided to grow all indoors. If you look at this jackfruit seedling, okay, look at the foliage. Yeah, this was frost damage. I mean, in the beginning, I was literally rolling these out in front of my garage, getting some sunshine. However, I mean, there are times where I have to go in the office, so I would roll these out, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, which is unfortunately, you know, for the first few hours. I mean, frost is there. So since moving in here, if you look at the new growth, I mean, it's doing great, no issues at all. So yeah, so that tells me these trees or seedlings are responding to the lighting system pretty well. I mean, look at the mamey sapote. Yeah, they're doing fine. And of course, you know, it helps too that practically every single day I come out here and just kind of give them the added humidity that they would appreciate. So just basically hose the whole area down with some fine mist. Yeah, the trees really would much appreciate this. So on the subject of water, if you've noticed, basically all my containers are in a uh, tarp of some sort, and that is to essentially help with the watering. The whole thing that I've got set up, even the seedlings over here, I've got a tarp on top of it, provided with well, being helped out with this makeshift frame that I've got here, keeping the tarp up here. It essentially makes it so where when I water these guys, twice a month, basically, the water stays in the confines of the tarp. It essentially acts a lot like one of those container dishes where when you overfill the container, the pot, the dish on the bottom essentially, you know, drains the water and then it eventually gets sucked up again by the container. That's the whole idea. So yeah, that's why you see little puddles of water here and there, which is fine because once these containers start to dry up in the bottom, you'll just essentially suck up the water. So it allows me to water it less. And so far, everything seems to be doing fine. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is the temporary setup that I've got. Not the prettiest looking thing in the world, but it will work to keep these guys alive during the winter time. So, all right, have a good afternoon.